In today's show, you'll be meeting residents of the Coachella Valley sharing turning points that could have broken them emotionally and sometimes physically. Instead, they accepted their situation and overcame their circumstance. I hope you enjoy today's show and that someone in it can make a difference in your life. Next, Counselor Dean Del Dudice, who is with the Center for Human Potential, tells his story of self-discovery.
Well, there was a huge turning point in my life that caused me to become a therapist. I actually crashed and burned in my early 30s. I had been in business for myself. I had a couple of businesses, and I had worked in sales and marketing positions for other firms. And it was at about the pinnacle of my career. I was in my early 30s, and I was a regional sales manager and sales trainer for a Fortune 500 company. And my life systematically started to blow up in certain arenas, relationships and finances, and finally the career itself. I parted with it, and I found myself basically losing everything and living in a one-bedroom apartment. And I said, wow, if you're so smart, Dean, how in the world did you end up like this? I realized that I was the common denominator in all of the scenarios. And so I remembered opening up the yellow pages, and I kept making phone calls until I got a therapist to answer the phone. And then I made an appointment, and I went in. And it was a journey of self-discovery that really caused me to find out that we as human beings do things for reasons that we don't know. We think we know why we're doing certain things, but we don't. And when my therapist first got me to realize that, it was about 90 days worth of arguing with him, you know, because I knew better, until he finally cracked the shell and made it very clear to me, showed me undeniably that I had made major life decisions based on things that were not even in my mind consciously. When I realized that, I felt a chill go up my spine, because it was as if I felt now I'm standing in a field of landmines that I've buried and I don't know where they are. So I'm going to have to find all of these things and dig them out and recreate my life. So as a result of this, I realized, and I thought, you know, if I can go back to school and get my degree and become a therapist and do what this man did for me, I'll really be doing something meaningful with my life, instead of just getting a PO number and having product ship and getting a great commission check, you know, which really had lost its meaning for me by that time anyway. It became a rather meaningless routine. Even though there was a degree of success to it, I wasn't influencing the world in any way. So I embarked on a long journey of getting my degrees finished up and my licensure, and that's where I met my wife in graduate school. And we've been together ever since, and we did our internship together, and we opened up this practice together. And we've been doing this for about 14 years now.
Coming up, Sharon Fletcher, teaching golf professional at Shadow Mountain Resort in Palm Desert, shares her near-death experience and how it played a major role in her life's purpose.
So how does a girl that was born in Bethesda Naval Hospital end up 3,000 miles away and land in a little desert oasis called Shadow Mountain Golf Club and Shadow Mountain Resort? Well, basically it's a series of turning points. And the most traumatic and first turning point of my life was when I was 13, and I had a terrible boating accident where I was being pulled by a speedboat on a raft, and the driver made a U-turn, like cracked the whip, and I was swung way out and sideswiped a pier. There happened to be a nurse on the pier that I hit. I'm laying face down in water, mind you, unconscious. And the first little angel that was sent along my path was this nurse that pulled me out, gave me artificial respiration, rushed me to a hospital where, after about 4.5 hours of surgery and about a 2% chance of ever making it through, and given last rites twice and a near-death experience, I actually came to that point, that turning point, where I somehow knew, even as a 13-year-old, that if I crossed that line, there was no coming back. And at that point, my family, the love of my mom and dad, my sister, my brother, that love pulled me back. And it just wasn't time yet for me to go past that point of no return. So I had lost a kidney and part of my spleen, and I think I was this tall my entire life, so I was a very good basketball player. And at that time, at that point in my life, I thought it was tragic that it ended my basketball career, put an end to it right then and there. However, again, the love of my father and his love for golf, he also was fighting a progressive illness, and it kept taking things away from him, but he was able to share with me golf, his love. And his love of the game and my love for him, it was our special time together. We got to play golf. And even though the disease finally took him, he left me with my path, my calling, my love.
Next, a pastor shares how meeting a caring man when he went to jail at 16 helped him turn his life around.
Well, hey, my first turning point in my life was when I was 16 years old. I happened to be locked up in jail. I got caught in a DEA drug raid and had to spend 6 months at a camp. And I'll never forget this man named Leroy. I mean, Leroy was awesome. I mean, he didn't really come in and talk so much about faith, more than he talked about reality, about life. And he came in one day and taught me how to fill out an application. He says, Obed, one day when you get out of here, you're going to get a great job. And then the next week he came in and he says, man, I'm going to teach you how to go on a first date, how to treat a woman. And he goes, because one day when you get out, Obed, you're going to find the perfect girl that's going to be your bride, and you're going to take care of her like she's a queen. And I really am thankful for Leroy and that turning point in my life, because that turning point has led to a turning point again in my life as well. Well, you know, the pain in my life started when my father walked out on us, and being the oldest boy, I almost became this instant man. I mean, I was the guy in charge to take out the trash. I was in charge to mow the lawn. And I always say that I grew up faster in maturity rather than in my own body. And so that pain of having a father that was emotionally out of my life, I found that in friends, peers my age. And you could imagine, you know, 12-year-olds giving advice to a 12-year-old. It's only going to lead to destruction. And that's how I ended up on the streets. And my mom and dad did the best they could. And just in the result of their marriage and in their life, it led to me. And what, you know, and so that's what happened in my life. And that turning point came when again, Leroy came into my life and taught me things that my father didn't teach me at a young age, and wasn't able to show me. I saw a dad that just never came home, and Leroy taught me how a father should be coming home every night to his children. And so because of that, it taught me some great things and lessons in my life that now today I'm able to teach to young people today. And that turning point at 16 is now becoming a turning point to many others today in a juvenile hall right here locally in Indio, that we are able to bring a turning point to their lives and be a life coach to them and teach them, you know, how to fill out an application or how to go on a first date and how to treat somebody. Because in all reality, every one of us is attracted to each other by pain. You know, the purpose of our life always evolves from the pain of our past. And so today, you hate what you had gone through in your past. It's why when you talk to people, maybe someone that has been raped, they hate that. Or someone that's talked about they've gone through drugs. The reason why they hate drugs is because they've gone through that. And so usually what we hate is what we've been called to change. And so our purpose is found in our pain. And when we realize that once we can conquer our pain in our life, we will eventually discover the purpose for our lives. So in other words, don't ponder on your past. Know that your past has happened to bring your future into fruition. And so therefore, my purpose has been discovered by the pain in my life.
Andrea Haboyan, diagnosed with cancer, eventually finds serenity in sharing thoughtful wisdom with family and friends.
I had gone for a routine gynecological appointment, and it's a normal process for them to do a hemoccult test, which he found as having blood. And so he routinely sent me to a gastroenterologist to set up a colonoscopy. And I had no fears because I had noticed blood in my stool many times, and I just attributed it to being hemorrhoids, which I had had all my life since I had had my children. And I was told that she would, call me on Monday. I believe this was done on a Tuesday, and she would call me the next Monday. And we were getting ready for a trip, so we had been out with some friends, and we were looking at motorhomes, and I got a phone call. I believe it was on Thursday, and it was from my gastroenterologist, which I thought was a little unusual because I hadn't expected to hear from her until Monday. And she said to me, well, the results from your test came back and you have cancer. Well, it was an unusual circumstance because here I was now in the middle of, having a good social time with some friends, and something like that was like hitting a brick wall. When you had no fear at all, you had no apprehension whatsoever. And I just kind of sat down, and she said, we're going to do some more testing, and you'll have to call me on Monday, and we'll make arrangements to do that. So I'm trying to swallow all of this information because, when you're out in the middle of a bunch of people and, you get kind of news that's like that, and it's just mind-boggling. I sat down, and my husband said, so what did the doctor say? And I said, well, I have cancer. And it was a very trying time. We had a trip planned, which we did keep. He said, I think we need to go on the trip. We're going to be with a bunch of friends. Supportive friends was amazing. And I honestly believe that was a turning point in my life, because from that point forward, I thought more of myself, more of my health, and I wanted to, and to this day, I try to keep my kids and my family all aware of everything in their lives that could potentially be harmful to them. And, sometimes you feel like, you're a little naggy or, a little obstinate about things. But I think in the long run, this particular experience was very, very enlightening for me. I have been cancer-free for 17 years, and throughout those 17 years, I can't say that I've been without a little bit of fear, because you always, you're always aware, but I believe that it's something that has made me a better person. I'm better to myself. I think about what I eat. I think about what I do. I think about what I expose myself to, and I do that with my friends and my relatives as well. So. Having anal cancer is something that you just don't want to talk about, but it's a reality, and people have these things, and I feel like I've been going through this. Once you have been diagnosed with C, you always have that in the back of your mind. But if you can keep positive things going and you have positive support, it makes a big difference.
For more information on today's guests and the businesses they represent, call the number at the bottom of the screen. And thank you for watching.